In a world where silver burns like fire, where the moon writes secrets in blood, one choice will decide everything: love or ruin, surrender or survival. Tonight, you'll step into a story of forbidden bonds, ancient legacies, and a love powerful enough to change the fate of two worlds. Every heartbeat will matter, every betrayal will cut deep, and every kiss will be impossible to forget. If you're ready to feel every shiver, every scar, every impossible truth, hit subscribe and let the story begin. The forest lay silent beneath the silver weight of the moon, a silence too sharp to be natural. She had wandered further than usual, chasing a feeling she couldn't name, when she stumbled upon him. A beast, larger than any wolf her village had whispered about, sprawled across the roots of an ancient oak. His fur glistened black as wet stone, his body heaving with ragged breaths. Blood pooled beneath him, its iron tang cutting the cool night air. Every story her grandmother ever told screamed for her to run, yet her feet carried her forward, slow, deliberate, trembling. The closer she came, the more the world seemed to hold its breath. The cicadas stopped singing, the wind ceased its dance, only the steady thump of her heart remained. She crouched beside him, her fingers shaking as they brushed against the matted fur. Heat seared her skin, not the warmth of life, but something otherworldly, something alive with power. She jerked back, but not before golden eyes snapped open. They locked onto hers, glowing like two suns caught in a dying storm. Fear lanced through her chest, yet it was tangled with something else, recognition. She couldn't explain it, but staring into those eyes felt like staring into a memory she had never lived. The beast growled, low and broken, a sound that wasn't only animal. Her pulse stuttered. "You're not just a wolf," she whispered, though she didn't understand why she knew it. His gaze softened just for a breath, then shuttered again in pain. Instinct overpowered reason. She tore at the hem of her dress, wrapping strips of fabric around the gaping wound in his side. Blood slicked her hands, hot and heavy. The wolf flinched, but didn't attack. Instead, he pressed closer, as though surrendering to her touch. Her throat tightened, a strange ache building in her chest. It wasn't pity, it was something older, deeper, frightening. As she worked, shadows prowled the edge of her vision. The forest whispered with hidden eyes. Somewhere, far away, a pack answered the moon with their haunting song. She shivered, pressing harder against the wound. "Stay with me," she murmured, her voice breaking. "I don't know why, but I can't let you die." The words spilled out before she could swallow them back. The wolf's gaze flickered, pain, fear, something almost human, and then dimmed. His body sagged against the earth, though life still trembled inside him. She dragged him into a shallow hollow, covering him with leaves and branches, hands raw from the effort. Hours passed. Every time his chest rose, relief loosened her spine. Every time it faltered, terror sharpened her breath. When dawn broke, she blinked against the pale light and reached for him. The hollow was empty. No fur, no body, not even blood. Panic surged through her veins as she scrambled to her feet. She scanned the forest floor until her eyes caught something impossible. Handprints, large, human, streaked with red, pressed into the dirt where paws should have been. Her stomach dropped. The truth clawed at her mind, demanding recognition. Wolves didn't leave handprints. Wolves didn't bleed like men. Wolves didn't look at you as though they knew your name. She staggered back, clutching her silver pendant. The cool metal burned against her chest, pulsing as if it too had witnessed the impossible. For a moment she swore she heard a voice echo through the trees, not in words, but in feeling. A vow, heavy and binding, whispered against her bones. She stumbled away from the hollow, every instinct torn between denial and belief. Had she saved a cursed beast or something worse? Her mother's warnings, once bedtime stories, suddenly cut like prophecy. She returned to the village at sunrise, hands still stained with blood that no one else could see. The world looked the same, but nothing was. She pressed the pendant to her lips, whispering a prayer she wasn't sure anyone heard. "What have I done?" The question lingered, unanswered, heavier than the dawn, and somewhere in the distance, a pair of golden eyes watched her go. The village square hummed with restless energy the next morning. Merchants barked prices, children darted between stalls, but beneath it all, suspicion simmered. A stranger had arrived. His presence was a weight, bending the air around him. He moved with quiet power, his steps measured, his shoulders broad. His hair was dark as midnight, his jaw lined with shadow. But it was his eyes, gold, unyielding, that set every tongue whispering. She froze when she saw him. Her breath hitched, the world narrowing to the impossible recognition burning through his gaze. They were the same eyes she had seen in the forest, the same fire that had stripped her bare under the moonlight. Her stomach clenched. This couldn't be real. And yet every nerve screamed it was. He looked at her, truly looked, and the crowd dissolved into silence. Heat coiled inside her chest, sharp and suffocating. She turned away, forcing herself to move, but his presence followed like a shadow. When the day dimmed, she found him near the old well, waiting. His voice was low, steady, a blade wrapped in silk. "You shouldn't be alone. They're already watching." She stiffened, clutching her shawl tighter. "Who are you? Why do you know my name?" A ghost of a smile touched his lips, though it carried no joy. "Names are older than introductions. I've known yours longer than you think." Her pulse stumbled. "That makes no sense." His eyes softened, just for a breath. "Not yet. But soon it will." Before she could demand more, he melted into the shadows, leaving her with nothing but the echo of his words. She pressed her pendant against her chest, its silver warm beneath her fingers. It had never warmed before. That night, in the quiet of her room, she replayed every word he had spoken. They weren't threats, but warnings. Who was watching her? The hunters, the villagers, or something even closer? The questions gnawed at her. The next morning, whispers followed her wherever she walked. Old women clutched their charms tighter, men muttered about omens. The stranger had unsettled the balance of things, and by extension, so had she. At the edge of the square, she caught him watching her again. His eyes carried no shame, only a certainty that made her breath falter. She wanted to confront him, demand answers, but her courage failed under the weight of that gaze. Instead, she fled to the woods, her thoughts loud enough to drown the birds. He can't be the wolf, he can't. And yet, the memory of golden eyes in the moonlight haunted her, branding itself into her soul. At dusk, she returned home, the village still alive with rumor. Her father said nothing, only frowned at the way she clutched her pendant. She lay awake long after the fire died, listening to the night breathe against the windows. Every creak, every rustle, every whisper felt like him. Like a presence she couldn't escape. Her dreams came alive with fire and fur, gold and shadow. Each time she reached for clarity, it slipped further away, leaving her with a single truth. Nothing about her life would remain the same. And though she feared it, a dangerous part of her longed for the change. The next morning when she stepped outside, he was waiting at the edge of the path. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to remind her. Their story had already begun. The fire came first in her dream, consuming the horizon with flames that licked the sky. Wolves howled through the inferno, their voices weaving into a mournful chorus that rattled her bones. Amid the chaos, she saw her mother, not as she remembered, but taller, cloaked in silver light, eyes bright as stars. Her lips moved, and though the storm roared, the words pierced straight through. "The destiny runs in your blood. Protect what comes from the moon." She reached out, desperate, but the vision cracked apart like glass under pressure. She woke with a gasp, drenched in sweat, her sheets tangled around her limbs. The room was suffocating, heavy with silence. Her silver pendant burned against her chest, glowing faintly as though lit from within. She pressed trembling fingers to it, feeling the strange warmth pulse like a heartbeat. Why now? Why tonight? The question tore through her mind. Outside, a breeze carried whispers against the shutters, as if the forest itself was calling her name. Unable to bear the weight of stillness, she rose. Wrapping her shawl around her shoulders, she stepped into the night. The air was sharp with pine and damp earth, the kind of cold that slid beneath skin. Shadows thickened between the trees, but she wasn't alone. Golden light shimmered in the darkness, eyes watching, patient, unblinking. Her heart faltered, caught between terror and longing. It's him. It has to be him. Are you following me? She whispered into the dark. For a moment only silence answered, pressing heavy against her ears. Then a voice, low and resonant, broke through. Not following, protecting. She spun, her breath catching as his form emerged from the shadows. The firelight of his eyes burned steady. Her throat went dry. Protecting what? She asked, though the answer already coiled in her chest. He stepped closer, the night bending around his presence. What already belongs to me? The words fell heavy, certain without apology. Her pulse raced, denial flooding her veins. Belongs? To him? No, I belong to no one. And yet some hidden part of her stirred, a place deep inside that recognized his claim before her mind could resist it. She stumbled back, clutching her pendant, its silver scorching her skin. You don't know me, she forced out, her voice shaking. You can't just say things like that. His expression softened, a flicker of sorrow glinting in those golden depths. I know you more than you think, more than you'll allow yourself to believe. Her chest constricted, torn between fury and fear. How can he say that? How can he look at me like he's always known me? The night wrapped tighter around them, suffocating, intimate. Before she could respond, the ground began to tremble with distant thunder, except it wasn't thunder. It was the synchronized pounding of boots and hooves, the crackle of torches tearing through silence. Voices rose in harsh command, the unmistakable cadence of hunters. She froze, her blood running cold. He tensed beside her, shoulders stiff, jaw clenched, as though bracing for battle. The fire in his eyes grew darker, dangerous. They're coming, he said, his tone laced with grim certainty. She swallowed hard, fear pressing claws into her chest. Why would they come here? His gaze cut to hers, unreadable. Because they know. They always know. She shivered, gripping her shawl tighter. Know what? About him? About me? Panic tangled with confusion. The hunters were not supposed to know anything about her. She was ordinary, forgettable, or so she thought. The forest grew restless, leaves rattling in anticipation. The light of torches flickered at the edge of the trees, creeping closer. She could hear the jingle of chains, the hiss of whispered curses. His hand brushed hers, not asking but anchoring her in the moment. Her heart leapt at the contact, torn between pulling away and holding on. Why do I feel safer when he's near, even when he terrifies me? The contradiction was a knife twisting inside her. She pulled back, shaking her head. I don't understand any of this. I don't understand you. His lips curved, bittersweet. You will. When the time comes, you will. Before she could press him, the first hunter's voice rang out, sharp and close. She gasped, stepping back into the shadows. The night was no longer hers. The hunters were here, and whatever she thought she knew about herself, about him, about destiny, was about to shatter. The torches carved the night apart, flames clawing at the sky as armored men pushed through the forest. Their chants echoed, heavy with hatred, each syllable carrying centuries of blood. The beast was here, their captain barked. We burn it and all who hide it. She pressed herself against the bark of an oak, her lungs refusing to breathe. Beside her, he stood still as stone, rage simmering beneath his skin, his golden eyes narrowed to slits. They don't know it's you, she whispered, her voice so faint the wind nearly swallowed it. Not yet. His reply came low, rough, strained with fury. They will. She glanced at him, her heart hammering. Every instinct screamed to run, but his presence anchored her. He radiated danger, yes, but also an unyielding will to protect. It terrified her how much she wanted to trust it. One of the hunters paused, scanning the trees with sharp suspicion. His gaze found her, lingering too long, recognition flashing across his features. "You!" he spat, his voice carrying like a curse. "You carry the blood of the Guardian." Her veins iced over. "Guardian? Her?" The word struck like a blade, leaving her gasping. She had never been anything but ordinary. But his certainty shattered that illusion in a breath. She stumbled back, confusion choking her. "What are you talking about?" she demanded, though her voice shook. The hunter's sneer deepened. "Your mother's line was never meant to die. The blood marks you, girl, and blood always calls to wolves." But the words sliced deep, unearthing memories she had buried. Her mother's whispered prayers, her pendant glowing at night. It couldn't be true. It shouldn't be true. But what if it was? Before she could speak again, his hand closed around hers, pulling her into the depths of the forest. She fought against his grip, breathless, panicked. "Let me go!" He didn't look back, his jaw set like iron. "If they take you, it's over." She stumbled to keep pace, branches clawing at her arms, roots threatening to trip her. Each step carried her further from the life she knew, deeper into the shadow of his world. The hunters' voices grew fainter, swallowed by the night. Finally, he slowed, his breath ragged, golden eyes glowing fierce in the dark. "They know too much already," he said, more to himself than to her. "They should not have known about your blood." She hugged herself, the pendant hot against her skin. "My blood, my mother, what does any of this mean?" Questions spiraled like storms, and none had answers. "You dragged me into this," she hissed, anger sparking through fear. All of this, it's because of you." His expression twisted, pain flashing in his gaze. "No, it's because of what you are. I didn't choose this any more than you did." She bit her lip, torn between fury and doubt. If that's true, then who am I really? The thought gnawed, relentless. He stopped suddenly, turning to face her. His voice dropped, raw and unguarded. "They will never stop, not until you accept what you are and what we are." She recoiled, shaking her head violently. "I don't want any of this. I just want my life back." His silence pressed like a wall, then softer. "That life was never yours to keep." The words struck deep, splintering something inside her. She wanted to scream, to deny, to run, but the forest offered no escape. Somewhere behind them, the hunter's chants echoed faintly, a reminder that time was running out. She gripped her pendant until it cut into her palm, praying for strength, clarity, anything. If this is who I am, then why do I feel like a stranger in my own skin? And when his hand reached for hers again, not with force but with quiet plea, she didn't pull away. Not because she trusted him, but because the world was unraveling too fast, and he was the only thing left that tethered her to it. The clearing opened like a wound in the forest, bathed in pale starlight. He stopped at its center, his chest heaving, his fists trembling at his sides. She kept her distance, heart hammering, pendant burning hot against her skin. "No more lies," he said, voice jagged as if each word cut him. "I am what you saw that night." Her stomach plummeted. She shook her head. "That's impossible. You're—" Her voice faltered. "You're the wolf." The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. His golden eyes met hers, unflinching, unashamed. He nodded once, the truth rippled through her, too wild, too monstrous to hold. "No," she whispered, stumbling back. "No, that can't be. Wolves don't. They don't." He stepped forward, each movement deliberate, steady. "They don't bleed like men. They don't look at you as if they've always known you." His words echoed the thoughts she had tried to bury. She shook, fury and fear warring inside her. "Why didn't you tell me? Why let me find you like that?" His jaw tightened. "Because I had no choice. You should never have touched me. But you did. And now—" He trailed off, eyes flickering with something more fragile than rage. "Now we're bound." Her breath caught. "Bound? What does that even mean?" He stepped closer, the night air sparking between them. "It means our fates are no longer separate." Her throat closed. her chest tightening painfully. Bound to him. No, no, I can't. She pressed her hands to her face, shaking. I didn't ask for this. I don't want this. His gaze softened, though sorrow hollowed the edges. Destiny doesn't ask for permission. The words slid like chains around her ribs, constricting, suffocating. Yet beneath the weight, something inside her pulsed in recognition, in agreement. She backed away, tears burning her eyes. You're lying. You're trying to trap me. He flinched, as though struck. If I wanted to trap you, you'd already be mine. Silence stretched sharp between them, every breath heavy. Why does he sound like he means it? Why does he look at me like I'm the only truth he has left? She couldn't reconcile the monster from the stories with the man who stood before her. You saved me, he said suddenly, his voice breaking like a storm. And in saving me, you sealed the bond. You feel it, don't you? The way my pain cuts you, the way my breath finds you in the dark. She froze, her body betraying her. She did feel it. Every flicker of fear, every shadow of hunger, every ache. It wasn't hers, it was his, and yet it lived inside her, as if her heart had grown a second pulse. No, she whispered, shaking her head. No, I won't accept this. I can't. His eyes burned, fierce and desperate. Deny it all you want, but the bond doesn't break. Not by will, not by fear. It only grows. She turned away, tears streaking her face. How can this be happening? How can I be tied to him when I barely even know who he is? Her mind screamed, but her body betrayed her with every tremor of connection. The forest hushed, holding its breath as the two of them stood, broken by truths neither had chosen. She wanted to run, to disappear, to wake up and find this nothing but a nightmare. But his voice stopped her, soft, raw, trembling with something almost human. I never wanted this for you. But now that it's here, I will never let them take you. Her chest cracked open with a pain she didn't understand. Part of her wanted to scream at him, to curse his name, to demand her freedom. But another part, darker, more dangerous, wanted to believe him, wanted to lean into his promise, into the bond neither of them could sever. Why does my heart betray me? Why does it ache for the very thing I should hate? The questions roared through her, merciless, unending. And as the night deepened around them, she realized with a shuddering breath that nothing, not her blood, not her pendant, not her prayers, could protect her from the truth any longer. She had saved a wolf, and in doing so, she had saved a man who was destined to unravel her entire world. The hunters' torches dimmed in the distance, but the echo of their chants clung to her skin like smoke. She leaned against a tree, clutching her pendant, her breaths shallow and uneven. He stood before her, shoulders heaving, his eyes burning like coals in the dark. They called me guardian's blood, she whispered, trembling. They said I carry it. What does it mean? His silence stretched like a blade drawn slow, cutting her deeper with every second. Finally he spoke, his voice raw. It means your mother was not who you thought. Her line was older than kingdoms, sacred, chosen to keep balance between my kind and yours. Her knees weakened, the ground tilting beneath her. My mother, the quiet woman who braided my hair, who prayed to the moon in silence, a guardian. The truth felt too large, too violent to fit in her chest. You lie, she spat, though the words cracked. You want me to believe I'm special, so I'll— What? Stay with you? Trust you? His gaze did not waver. If I could spare you the truth, I would. But you need to understand. They will hunt you not because of me, but because of what you are. Her stomach twisted, rebellion and fear colliding until she could hardly breathe. She stumbled back, shaking her head. No, I won't let this be my story. I'm nothing. I'm no one. His jaw clenched, his voice breaking. And yet the blood sings in you. Can't you feel it? She froze, because she could. Deep beneath her fear, a hum stirred in her veins, faint but undeniable, like the whisper of the moon itself. No, please, no. Her vision blurred, memories rising unbidden. Her mother kneeling at night, pendant glowing faintly in her palms, words murmured in a language she never understood. The nights she thought were prayers were something else, a passing of secrets, a legacy sealed in silence. Her hands shook as she gripped the pendant now, as if it burned with truth. "You said we're bound," she whispered, trembling. "By what? By my blood? By your curse?" He stepped closer, his expression torn between fury and longing. "By both. The bond exists because of who you are, and because of what I am. You were never meant to escape it." She wanted to scream, to deny, but the bond pulsed sharp, undeniable, every breath sinking with his like a cruel reminder. "You should have left me," she choked out, tears stinging her eyes. "You should have died that night." His face twisted in pain, but his voice steadied. "Maybe I should have, but then I would never have found you." The confession cracked through her anger, leaving her bare. Why does he sound like he regrets nothing? Why does he speak as if my life was always tied to his? The forest hushed, the stars bright and merciless above. She sank to the ground, her body trembling. He didn't touch her, only stood near, his silence speaking more than words. The bond between them throbbed like a wound, binding them tighter with every breath. And for the first time, she realized that denying it might be more dangerous than accepting it. The night stretched into uneasy silence, broken only by her ragged breaths. She dreamed again, visions of wolves circling her, their eyes reflecting starlight, their voices blending into a single chant. "The moon does not choose wrongly." She woke with a cry, the words clawing at her chest. He was already awake, watching her, golden eyes glinting with knowing sorrow. "What did you see?" he asked softly. She wrapped her shawl tighter, unwilling to admit the truth. "Nothing, just shadows." He tilted his head, his gaze sharp. "The moon speaks to you now, doesn't it?" The question ripped her open. The moon speaking. Why me? Why now? She shook her head violently, but her silence betrayed her. He moved closer, crouching before her. "You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to drag you into my curse?" "No, but the bond is real. The moon herself sealed it. You can feel it, can't you?" Her throat closed, words caught like thorns. Finally, brokenly, she whispered, "Yes." The confession was a blade cutting through her last defenses. His gaze softened, pain flickering across his features. "Then you know why we can't go back, why running isn't an option." She wrapped her arms around herself, shaking. "I never asked for this. I never asked for destiny." Yet even as the thought burned, the bond pulsed steady in her chest, betraying her with its certainty. Silence stretched, heavy and raw. At last she asked the question that haunted her. "What happens if I refuse it? If I walk away?" His expression darkened, his jaw clenched. "Then the bond becomes pain, for both of us. Every step you take away from me will carve at your heart, until one of us breaks." Her stomach dropped, terror flooding her veins. "That's not freedom," she whispered, her voice trembling. "That's a cage." He looked away, his hands curling into fists. "Then we are both caged. But tell me, is it worse than being hunted until you bleed?" The words hit hard, reminding her of the torches, the chains, the hatred etched in the hunters' faces. There was no path untouched by pain. She pressed her forehead to her knees, tears spilling unchecked. "I want to be free. I want to choose. But what if choice has already been stolen?" The thought hollowed her out, leaving her raw and aching. When his hand brushed her shoulder, she didn't flinch. She didn't lean in either. She simply let the bond vibrate between them, fragile, unspoken. The moon rose high, silver light spilling over them. She lifted her gaze, the pendant glowing faintly in answer. Her chest ached with fear and something else she refused to name. And as the night deepened, she knew the moon was not finished with her yet. The dawn broke blood red, staining the horizon like a wound. She hadn't slept. Every shadow had felt like a threat. He stood guard, restless, his gaze fixed on the tree line. "They won't stop," he said, voice taut. They'll follow until they corner us. She hugged herself, shivering. Corner us. Because of him. Because of me. By midday, the forest shifted. The silence grew unnatural, birds absent, the wind too still. Her skin prickled with dread. "Something's wrong," she murmured. He tensed, nostrils flaring. "They're here." The words barely left his lips before a net of silver-threaded rope dropped from above, tangling her limbs. She cried out, the metal searing against her skin. He roared, his body twisting, half-shifting, claws rending the net apart. Hunters emerged from the trees, weapons gleaming, eyes wild with bloodlust. "Take the girl!" their leader barked. Panic ripped through her as hands grabbed for her, chains rattling. She fought, kicking, clawing, but the silver burned, weakening her until she could hardly breathe. "Run!" he bellowed, his form monstrous, tearing through men like shadows. She stumbled free, crashing through underbrush, heart in her throat. But even as she ran, she felt it, his pain, his fury, bleeding into her chest. "He's fighting for me, dying for me." The bond tethered her back, no matter how far her feet carried her. She tripped, sprawling against the earth. A hunter loomed, chain raised. She screamed, raising her pendant instinctively. It blazed with silver fire, flaring so bright the hunter shrieked and staggered back. She gasped, staring at the glow. "What is this? What power do I hold?" Questions roared, but no answers came. He crashed through the trees, bloodied but unbroken, golden eyes aflame. His gaze found hers, relief flooding his features. "Stay behind me!" he growled, tearing the chain from the hunter's hands. The fight raged, brutal and merciless. She pressed her back to a tree, shaking, pendant still pulsing with unnatural heat. At last, the remaining hunters retreated, dragging their wounded into the shadows. He stood panting, blood streaking his chest, his claws dripping red. He turned to her, chest heaving, his expression raw. "You saved yourself," he rasped. "And me. Do you understand now?" She shook her head violently, tears spilling. "I don't want this. I don't want any of it." But the pendant glowed brighter, answering the bond, the truth undeniable. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing. He knelt beside her, his voice softer than the wind. "Neither did I. But we don't choose the chains we're born with." His hand hovered near hers, not touching, waiting. And though she wanted to pull away, she couldn't stop her fingers from trembling toward his. They found shelter in an abandoned chapel, its walls cracked, its altar broken, moonlight spilling through shattered glass. She collapsed onto a pew, exhausted, her body aching. He paced, restless, golden eyes burning. "We can't stay long. They'll track us." She hugged her knees, whispering, "I can't keep running. I'll break." The thought bled into the bond, and his gaze softened as if he'd heard it. A shadow stirred at the back of the chapel. An old man stepped forward, cloaked in midnight, his eyes sharp as a hawk's. "So the bond has awakened," he murmured, his voice like brittle paper. Her stomach dropped. "Who are you?" The man bowed slightly. "Once I was Guardian's keeper. Now I am nothing but memory. But you, girl, you are the blood reborn." Her breath caught. "You knew my mother." His eyes glistened, a fleeting sorrow. "I knew her, and I swore to protect her line. But fate is cruel. I failed her. Perhaps I will not fail you." He turned to the wolf, his gaze piercing. "And you were never meant to bind with her. Yet here you stand, tied by the moon's decree." The wolf bristled, growling low. "Then unbind us." The old man shook his head. "Such bonds do not break. They either flourish or they rot." His words cut deep, filling her with dread. "Flourish or rot? Is that my only choice?" Her chest tightened, tears pricking her eyes. "What am I supposed to do?" she demanded, her voice breaking. "Tell me how to end this." The old man stepped closer, his fingers grazing her pendant. "The pendant is not an ornament. It is a key. When the time comes, it will open the truth, and only then will you see what path remains." His cryptic words coiled like smoke, giving no comfort. Her frustration boiled. "You speak in riddles. I need answers, not riddles." He studied her, sorrow etched into every line of his face. Answers come at a cost. The question is, are you ready to pay it? She recoiled, shaking her head. No, I don't want any of this. He nodded, as though he expected no less. And yet it wants you. The wolf stepped closer, his voice low. What cost? Tell me. The old man's eyes flickered. To protect her, you must surrender yourself fully. The bond must complete. If you resist, you both will suffer. If you embrace it, you may survive. Silence fell, heavy and suffocating. She couldn't breathe. Complete the bond? What does that mean? Her heart thundered, panic choking her. The wolf's gaze met hers, fierce and unyielding. She shook her head violently. No, I won't. I can't. The old man sighed, his shadow long against the altar. Then prepare for suffering, for the hunters will come again, and next time the bond may not save you. His words lingered like ashes, impossible to shake. They left the chapel at dawn, the air thick with unease. She walked ahead, clutching her pendant, the old man's words gnawing at her soul. Complete the bond, surrender, or suffer. Her mind rebelled, but her heart whispered traitorous questions. What would it mean? What would she lose? What would she become? The silence between them grew unbearable. Finally, she spun to face him. Tell me the truth, all of it. What does it mean to complete the bond? His jaw clenched, his eyes burning. It means surrendering to what we are, to the connection the moon forged between us. It means no more hiding, no more fighting. Her chest tightened. And if I refuse? His gaze darkened. Then we both will burn. Her breath caught. Burn! He stepped closer, his voice rough. The bond is fire. Untamed, it destroys. Embraced, it becomes strength. But half measures kill. We either fall together or we rise. His words thundered in her chest, shaking the ground beneath her. Rise or fall. Together. Always together. The thought was both comfort and curse. I can't give myself to you, she whispered, trembling. I don't even know who you are. His expression softened, pain flickering in his gaze. I am the cursed, the hunted, the beast they told you to fear. But I'm also the man who would bleed for you. Her heart lurched, torn open. Why does he sound like truth? Why does he make me want to believe? The air thickened, charged, their bond sparking like lightning. She could feel his heartbeat echoing in hers, could taste his fear as her own. Stop, she begged, tears streaking her face. Stop pulling me into this. His voice broke. I'm not pulling. You're already here. The words cut deeper than any blade, because she knew he was right. The forest shuddered with a sudden cry, horns loud and sharp, echoing through the trees. The hunters were near again, closer, relentless. She gasped, fear clawing at her throat. He tensed, golden eyes flashing with resolve. It's time, he said, his voice hard. Time to choose. She shook her head violently, backing away. I can't. Yes, you can. His roar cracked the air, trembling with fury and desperation. Choose me, or we both fall. Choose me, or they take you and tear you apart. The bond is waiting. The fire is waiting. Don't you feel it? His words thundered through her, the bond pulsing like wildfire in her veins. She collapsed to her knees, clutching her chest, every breath agony. Her vision blurred, the world tilting. She heard the hunter's horns again, closer, louder, a tide she couldn't outrun. His hand reached for her, steady, fierce, waiting. Her body trembled, torn between terror and surrender. If I take his hand, everything changes. If I don't, I lose everything anyway. The choice carved into her, merciless. And as the torches lit the horizon, her tears fell like rain, her heart a battlefield of fire and fear. The bond raged within her, demanding an answer. And for the first time, she realized that destiny would not wait for her consent. It would devour her, with or without her will. The horns split the sky, their cries echoing through the forest like the tolling of war. She clutched her pendant, heart hammering as shadows shifted between the trees. He stood before her, golden eyes narrowed, muscles coiled with tension. They're closer than I thought. he muttered. Too close. She swallowed, fear clawing at her ribs. Always too close. Always coming for us. The hunters burst from the trees, torches blazing, chains gleaming silver. She stumbled back, breath ragged, as their captain stepped forward. His gaze locked on her, hatred dripping from every word. You think you can hide with beasts, girl? Your mother thought the same. And it killed her. Her heart stopped, the world tilted. What? She gasped, voice breaking. The captain sneered, his torch flaring. She wasn't taken by sickness. She was slaughtered because she chose them over her own kind. Tears burned her eyes, the truth crashing down like fire. Her mother's whispered prayers, her secrecy, her pendant, all pieces of a story she was never told. Betrayal seared through her chest, sharp as any blade. She lied. She kept it from me. Her knees weakened, the pendant glowing hot against her palm. No, she whispered, tears spilling. She protected me. She tried. The captain's laughter was cruel. Protected you? She doomed you. You carry the same curse, and you'll die for it, just as she did. The words cut deep, leaving her breathless. Every truth she clung to shattered like glass. The wolf snarled, stepping between them, his voice a growl. Say one more word about her, and I'll rip your throat out. The captain sneered, drawing a blade laced with silver. You'll die first, beast. The air crackled, tension snapping taut. The hunters raised their weapons and the forest trembled, as if bracing for blood. She shook, tears streaking her face. My mother, my blood, my destiny, all lies, all truths. I don't know who I am anymore. The pendant pulsed, heat burning into her skin as though demanding her choice. But all she could feel was the crushing weight of betrayal, of being a child in a war she never asked for. The first clash came like thunder, steel against claw, torches flaring against shadows. He roared, fighting with a fury that shook the ground, tearing through men with savage grace. She stood frozen, watching the storm unfold, the bond thrumming with every strike he made. His pain was her pain, his rage her rage. She couldn't escape it. A hunter lunged for her, chain flashing. She raised her pendant, silver light bursting forth, searing him back. She gasped, chest heaving, staring at her own trembling hands. This power, it's mine. It's always been mine. The realization struck like lightning, terrifying and exhilarating. She wasn't just a bystander. She was part of the storm, and as the hunters closed in, she realized with a cold, brutal clarity, if she did nothing, both of them would die, and if she acted, she might lose herself forever. The battle raged, flames and silver clashing against claw and blood. She pressed her back to a tree, pendant glowing bright, her body trembling with power she didn't understand. He fought like a storm unleashed, golden eyes blazing, his movements both man and beast. But for every hunter he cut down, two more emerged, relentless, merciless. Her chest burned, the bond screaming inside her. His wounds echoed through her veins, sharp and raw. She cried out, clutching her ribs as if struck, her body buckling with his pain. I can feel him breaking. If he falls, I fall too. The truth twisted through her, brutal and undeniable. She couldn't ignore the bond any longer. One hunter slipped past, chain raised high. She lifted her pendant, silver fire flaring, but the chain lashed across her arm, burning deep. She screamed, the pain scorching her skin. He roared in answer, his fury snapping bones as he tore the man apart. She collapsed to her knees, tears streaking her face. I can't do this. I can't survive this. His hand caught her shoulder, anchoring her. Yes, you can, he growled, blood dripping down his cheek. You are Guardian's blood, stronger than you know. She shook her head violently. I'm not. I'm nothing. His gaze burned, fierce and unyielding. Then why does the moon fight for you? She froze, pendant blazing so bright it bathed the forest in silver. The hunters staggered, shielding their eyes, curses spilling from their lips. She gasped, the power searing through her veins, alive and wild. This is me, this is inside me. Fear tangled with awe, her body trembling as the energy surged. The wolf stepped beside her, his voice rough. "Don't fight it, let it burn." She closed her eyes, surrendering for a breath. The fire flared, silver light bursting outward, slamming into the hunters. They screamed, stumbling back, their chains snapping like brittle twigs. She opened her eyes, breathless, the glow fading from her hands. Silence fell, broken only by her ragged gasps. The hunters staggered into retreat, dragging their wounded, their curses echoing through the night. She collapsed, shaking, her body drained. He knelt beside her, golden eyes burning with awe. "You're not nothing," he whispered. "You're everything." The words struck deep, stirring something she didn't want to name. Her tears fell, hot and relentless. Everything or nothing. "I don't know who I am anymore." She pressed her forehead to the earth, the weight of destiny crushing her. And as the last torch faded into the dark, she realized the hunters would return. Stronger, more prepared. And next time, her power alone might not be enough. The forest lay in ruins, trees scarred by flame, earth soaked in blood. She sat in silence, her hands trembling, the pendant cool once more. He watched her, golden eyes heavy with questions. "You felt it," he said softly. "The bond, the power. It's not a curse. It's a gift." She shook her head violently, tears burning her cheeks. "It's chains. It's fire eating me alive." He crouched before her, voice raw. "Fire can destroy, but it can also protect. Which will you let it be?" She stared at him, fury and grief warring in her chest. "Why me? Why not anyone else? I never wanted this." His gaze softened, sorrow deep. "Neither did I, but fate doesn't ask what we want, only what we are." His words sank like stones, heavy and merciless. "What I am. Guardian's blood, bound to a wolf. A destiny I never chose." Her chest ached, her heart twisting. She wanted to scream, to break free, but the bond pulsed steady, reminding her she couldn't. Not without shattering herself. "I don't trust you," she whispered, voice trembling. "I can't." He nodded slowly, as if expecting no less. "Then don't trust me. Trust the bond. It won't lie." She flinched, her body betraying her with every thrum of connection. The bond, the fire, the way his breath feels like mine. How can I fight something that lives inside me? The silence stretched, heavy and raw. At last, she raised her gaze. "If I complete the bond, if I surrender, will it kill me?" His jaw tightened. "No, it will change you. Forever. You will no longer be just you. You will be us." Her stomach dropped, fear clawing at her. "Us! I'll lose myself. I'll become something I can't recognize." She shook her head, tears falling. "I can't. I won't." His eyes burned, fierce and desperate. "Then you condemn us both." She recoiled, chest aching, torn apart by the impossible. The choice loomed like a blade, surrender or ruin, fire or ashes, no path untouched by pain. The night grew colder, the stars sharp above. She hugged herself, whispering, "I just wanted to live, to be ordinary. Why does the moon demand so much of me?" Her tears blurred the world, leaving only shadows and flame. He watched, silent, his own pain etched in every line of his face. And in that silence, she realized the cruelest truth. Her choice wasn't about herself anymore. It was about survival, about him, about the hunters, about a war she never chose but could not escape. The bond had made her part of it, whether she surrendered or not. The night howled with tension, the bond burning hotter with every breath. She stood at the edge of a cliff, staring at the valley below, hunters' fires flickering in the distance. He joined her, silent, golden eyes reflecting the flames. "They'll come at dawn," he said, "stronger, more of them." Her heart sank, the weight of inevitability crushing her. Always dawn, always battle. She turned to him, desperation cracking her voice. "Tell me why. Why me? Why this bond? Why now?" He held her gaze, sorrow heavy. "Because you were born of moonlight, because your blood calls to mine, because the world demands balance, and we are its cruel answer." His words shook her, leaving her raw. Balance, bond, destiny, all words that sound like chains. Her tears fell, hot and relentless. I don't want balance, I don't want destiny, I just want my life. His jaw tightened, his voice breaking. And I just wanted to be free of my curse. But the moon doesn't give mercy. Their pain mirrored, reflected in each other's eyes, the bond pulsing with shared grief. The fires in the valley grew brighter, closer. She gripped her pendant, whispering, "If I don't choose now, dawn will choose for me." The thought hollowed her, stealing her breath. He stepped closer, his presence both anchor and storm. "Say the word," he murmured, "and I'll fight them all until my blood soaks the earth." She gasped, chest aching. Why does he sound like truth? Why does he make me want to believe? Her hand trembled, reaching for his before pulling back. "If I let this happen, I'll lose myself." His eyes burned. "No, you'll find yourself, the part that was always waiting." The silence thickened, suffocating. She closed her eyes, the bond roaring inside her, tearing her apart. She saw her mother's face, her prayers, her sacrifice. She saw the hunter's hatred, their chains, their fire. She saw him, broken, cursed, yet fierce, his golden eyes filled with something she couldn't name. Her knees buckled and she collapsed, sobbing. "I can't carry this. I can't carry both of us." He knelt, his voice raw. "Then let me carry you. That's what the bond is, not chains, not fire, us, together." His words shattered her, left her trembling, broken, torn between surrender and defiance. And as dawn neared, the choice pressed harder, merciless, demanding, surrender or burn. Dawn broke, the hunter's horns blaring, fire spilling across the valley. She stood, trembling, pendant blazing with silver light. He stood beside her, golden eyes fierce, his body tense. "It's time," he said softly. She swallowed, her chest burning. Time. No more running, no more denial. The hunters stormed the cliff, chains and fire rising like a tide. She clutched her pendant, tears streaming, and turned to him. "If I do this, if I surrender, there's no going back." His voice broke. "I know. And if you don't, we die." Her heart cracked, the weight of choice crushing her. The bond pulsed, fire roaring in her veins. She gasped, collapsing, her body trembling. His hand caught hers, strong, steady. "Trust me," he whispered. "Trust us." She closed her eyes, tears falling. "I don't want this. I don't. And yet, I do." The contradiction tore her apart, but the answer pulsed steady in her chest. She gasped, pressing her pendant to his chest. Silver fire erupted, flooding the cliff with light. The hunters screamed, shielding their eyes as the bond ignited, searing through flesh and spirit. She cried out, her body shaking, the fire consuming her, but not destroying, transforming. The bond sealed with a shattering roar, her heartbeat sinking with his, her breath merging with his. She opened her eyes, silver light blazing in her irises. He met her gaze, golden and fierce, their souls bound as one. The hunters faltered, terror flashing across their faces. "The Guardian reborn," one whispered, voice breaking. Together they rose, fire and silver entwined. The hunters charged, but chains snapped like twigs, fire doused by moonlight. Their power surged, unstoppable, unbreakable. She moved with him, no longer separate, their strength doubled, their bond complete. The hunters fell, scattered, broken by the storm they had awakened. At last, silence fell, the valley bathed in silver dawn. She collapsed into his arms, tears streaming, her body trembling. "It's done," she whispered, voice cracked. He held her close, his breath ragged. "No, it's just beginning." She pressed her forehead to his, sobbing, "I'm not me anymore. I'm us, and I don't know if I'm strong enough." But the bond pulsed steady, fire and silver, reminding her that strength no longer meant standing alone. It meant standing together. And though the dawn carried ashes and scars, it also carried something new, a love forged in fire, unchosen but unbreakable.